Parenting is the hardest job, and there is not a close second. Raising high-performing teen athletes or performers? That's a high-stakes job. I'm Nate Crandall, joined by fellow certified high-performance coach Steve Galley. We coach ambitious parents like you, and also your high-performing teens, because when you both level up, connection and results don't just improve, they multiply. Welcome to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. We have some burning questions for you.
Are you addicted to fairness?
Well, personally, yes, I am.
Let's get personal.
Let's get personal. Man, I do. Fairness, when something's not fair, it really gets me going.
That's
that
not
definitely
fair.
gets me fired up. Exactly.
That's not fair.
It's not fair. And that's really hard for me to deal with. When something's not fair, I have a hard time with that.
Have you ever been wrong about something being unfair?
Yes. I was actually in my head, I'm going to my favorite fairness story for me. I got pulled over for speeding. And when the cop pulled me over, he told me, he's like, yeah, you were decelerating, but you were still going, 10 over when I clocked
This
you
is
or
the one
when I
going
tagged
down
you.
the hill, right?
Yes, it is going downhill. It's going downhill into the city near where I live. And I'm like, that's so not fair, because he was sitting right on the other side of the speed limit sign. I passed the speed limit sign. I was legal before I passed it. And then I was slowing down to get legal after it. And he got me right in that gray area in between. So my fairness meter went boom. But yes, I have been wrong. Not about that.
So Nate, I'm going to say a phrase.
Okay.
And it's immediately going to make heads explode throughout our listening audience. So if you're driving, speaking of driving, I don't want you to speed up. I don't want you to slam on the brakes. Focus.
Or swerve.
Yeah, don't swerve. Focus. Stay steady here.
Stay
I'm
calm.
going to mention the phrase that leads to the whole concept of, is this fair? Is this unfair? Am I addicted to fairness? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, this podcast is for parents of high-performing teen athletes
Yes, sir.
and performers. Okay, the phrase is playing time.
That's cool, because my kid gets all the playing time anyways.
Well, I was telling you off air, I still think, and I loved my high school coach, I still think it was so unfair that he took me out when I was tired. I just, that was so unfair. I also thought it was very unfair that he took me out of the basketball game when I had 4 fouls in certain situations. That is completely
Quit
unfair.
getting 4 fouls in the first half, Steve.
Yes. I think it was completely unfair that he took me out of games when perhaps I was not following instructions repeatedly on certain things. That was completely unfair.
There's the fairness addiction right there.
The fairness addiction.
Well, we're not wrong to want that. Yeah, things should be fair, but how many times are we told in our lives, life's not fair. Life's not fair. But that doesn't stop us from complaining about it.
What's the problem with complaining about it?
Well, complaining's a problem with everything. Complaining's a huge problem in and of itself. We probably should have some episodes about that down the road. But fairness is an interesting thing to talk about, because we do complain when things aren't fair, because fairness has somehow become a drug. We're addicted to this idea of fairness, and we want, we want everything to be fair when it favors us. If it doesn't favor us, we're really good at finding the other reasons why it's unfair. And if we find it unfair, then that justifies me losing my cool.
Oh, yes.
I can put my standards off to the side. I can lose my cool. I don't have to be, because it's unfair. Tough topic, man. This is
tough topic. Actually, for a second, I was going to say, Karen, you need to settle down a little bit. But Nate, I do want our listeners to know at the end, we've got a little bit of a law tip that is going to be helpful to them.
Nice.
And I really like this. I'm the son of an attorney and a former prosecutor. So I think we have something that's going to be beneficial to them.
Beautiful.
Because we're all about fairness, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to bring in a little law tip for you that hopefully could be helpful. But my question was about this addiction to fairness. Do you think people really, are we crazy with that terminology, fairness addiction?
No, we're not crazy with it. And it's not wrong to want fairness. And I think this is what fuels the addiction, because we all understand on a fundamental level that things should be fair. And we want that fairness to apply in all areas. But like we're told many, many times in our life isn't fair. Like there's an inherent, there's that desire for fairness woven into us. Life itself has this unfairness factor to it.
Absolutely.
And so we want so bad for things to be what we consider to be fair. And we're addicted to that perspective.
When it comes to playing time, I'm going to throw out a few phrases that I have heard that people will say this about, I think, almost every coach, especially when we're talking about high school culture and youth sport culture.
Very much so.
So they will say this to other parents. They will say this to their friends. They sometimes say it to the coach.
And often to the admin.
I don't think I've gone to maybe 15 high school games so far this season. And as we're recording this, we're in the middle of we're at the beginning of January, Nate. I have heard this from 5 to 10 people, just in casual conversations. This is not me showing up and taking surveys among parents and spectators. This is just casual conversations, and sometimes just seeing people I haven't seen for a while, and they're like, "Hey, Steve, hey, coach, how are you doing?" And, we just start talking, and they have a son playing, and then we get to this. You ready for the phrases?
This is at different schools, right? Like this is not like 5 people from one school.
No, yeah, and it's not even at the school that I coached at. This is a mix.
Elsewhere.
And by the way, I will also say I've had conversations with parents that are, I would consider, phenomenal conversations, where they are very neutral and very measured, and they're focusing on what they can control. But these are the phrases, when I hear these, the parents may actually be right, Nate, but this is the wrong approach. And I will die on that. I was going to say I'll die on that hill. I will die on that court. I will die in the center jump circle on this, that these are terrible for your own mindset, especially. They're also terrible to share with your teen athlete or performer. And these are the phrases. Number 1, it's all politics. It's all politics. Number 2, the coach hates him.
That one hurts me.
The coach hates him. And number 3, the coach plays favorites.
I love that last one. I love that there's a lot of things you see on Instagram that go directly at that. Well, yeah, every coach does play favorites. If you want to be the coach's favorite, dive on the floor, show up early.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So why are these poisonous? In our effort to want fairness, why is these types of phrases and this thinking poisonous?
So the chain of what happens here is we'll first identify a situation where it's like, well, it's unfair. My kid's not getting as much playing time as somebody else. I think that he's better than that other kid. That's not fair. Then the next step that we take, and whatever the reason, we get caught by something. The next step that we take is we have to justify that belief. And so we go to these things that we can identify. And the first wave of things we go to is, well, it must be politics, or the coach must hate him, or that coach just plays favorites. And those are the simple ways of complaining. Or there's Brian Kite's somebody I wildly respect and I love to follow. And he talks a lot about things that wreck teams, ruin relationships, stuff like that. And he talks a lot about this idea of blaming, complaining, and defending as where we go. And those are all like low quality responses to whatever's happening to us. So we have a situation that pops up and then we go the low quality route of blaming politics, blaming the coach, complaining about this, that, or the other, explaining it away, making excuses for why my kid's not playing or why my kid's not having a great time. And so we do that. Like it's human nature to go to all those things. But these are just quick labels that we throw out to just whine and complain about the situation. And there's not much to these. Most of the time, if you dig at all, you realize that, yeah, it's not about those things.
There's definite pain for parents when their kids aren't playing
Uh-huh.
and they think they should be playing more. By the way, I know plenty of parents who are going to games and their sons are not playing much. And they've been able to figure this out and been able to handle it. And of course they would probably love it if their son was playing more. What have they figured out that the parents who are in the blame, complain, and explain mode not figured out?
They've figured out perspective. Those parents are often, and there's a good number of them too. And if you're one of those parents and you're listening right now, we totally commend you for taking the measured, unemotional perspective that allows you to see high school sports for what it is, an opportunity to learn and grow, to learn about human interactions and life. And it's that perspective of where does this fit into the big picture? When we confuse the current situation being unfair, and it may be unfair, maybe there is something that's unfair there, but as soon as we make the jump to catastrophic and we start making it way bigger than it needs to be, that's when we start pulling in all of the other negative stuff, and it really does spiral out of control. And so those parents have figured out, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about my kid alone. This is just a situation. And so they're choosing a more measured response with perspective, and that allows them to handle it better. So I'm very, very much looking forward to the little thing you teased earlier, your little prosecutor analogy. I love the idea of picturing you as a prosecuting attorney. So I'm looking forward to what comes of that. But I did want to go to, I think what would be great is to help our parents take a look in the mirror. And this is not in any kind of accusatory way, but this is just an opportunity. Here's some questions to help develop or cement a perspective that will allow you to be what your kids need them to be when they're dealing with a playing time situation or something else that might be unfair.
Okay, give me one.
All right, I'll start us off. So parents, look in that mirror and ask yourself, what hurts more, your teen sitting or the story that people will tell about why? Something to throw onto that one too. I think it's very interesting. We think that other people talk about it all the time. Most people don't. If my kid's sitting, nobody really talks much about it.
Right. It's the classic situation that we think everybody is worried and concerned about us and their focus is on us and
they notice all the little things about our family
Right.
and this, and they'll think we're bad parents if my kid's sitting and
yeah. Or she is somehow lesser because she's not as good at volleyball as some of the other players on the team. Yeah.
Lots of places you can go with that question. You got another one for us?
Okay, so this one, Nate, this is kind of a purpose question. What are you seeking here? So in this whole playing time issue, do you want development or are you seeking validation? I mean, what are you fighting for here in this situation?
And that's a great question. That actually sets the table for a conversation we'll have in a upcoming episode where we get to like what we can control. And that's a great question to kind of start that off. So well done. Good question. So my next one, if we took ego out, what's the cleanest explanation for the coach's choices?
Oh, you're making me squirm here a little bit. You're telling me we've got to take our egos out of this?
Yeah.
Check your ego at the door.
Well, that's the perspective. You remove the ego, and now you start looking at what's the cleanest explanation. Emphasis on the word cleanest, like the simplest, cleanest explanation for why the coach is doing what they're doing. Please, please don't get sucked up into the that's why I said what I said about my coach hates my kid. My coach hates me. That's one. If your kid comes home with my coach hates me, you should smack that like a fly at a picnic.
Oh, I thought you were going to say smack him.
No, don't ever smack your kid, but smack that statement, because I have yet to meet, and I've met good coaches and I've met coaches that aren't as good. I'm probably one of the ones that's not as good, but I have yet to meet a coach that doesn't love the kids that they work with.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
don't think
Nate.
it's fair for anybody to pile on and that say, my coach hates me.
Right. Yeah, I was going to use some type of sarcasm alert that maybe this will work. Okay, sarcasm alert. Every season I would select a couple of players that I hated.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. No coach does that. No coach does that. There might be a player that frustrates them. And as parents, we all know that we love all our kids the same, but we don't necessarily like them all the same at that moment.
Right.
But we love all our kids the same. And I think coaching very much fits into that. Coaches they like coaching kids. They love your kid.
Yeah. Hey, this is maybe just a bit of a side road, but I was asked earlier this week from one of my former students that just got married. And so they're in their early 20s and they're all lovey-dovey and fully 100% in love. And he said, "Hey coach, I need some marriage advice." And I suppose because I'm coming up on year 40, that we've done a couple of things right. We by no means have everything figured out, but this is the marriage advice that I have been giving out when asked. This is not unsolicited advice, but I said, "Are you two in love?" And his eyes, we were in person. And so he just lit up and he's just like, "She's the best." I said, "Well, you guys are in love. Now you need to spend the rest of your life learning how to like each other." And I think that hits on what you were saying about how there's times where there's just natural human frustration with players. And if as a parent or as a player, you are turning that into hate, then I think you're missing the mark.
Okay, this sets up your last question really well.
Yes, this last one. This is a really important one. And it certainly can be related to just about all of our behaviors, Nate. Well, it could be every behavior, but I want the listeners to think about this in terms of how they are responding to playing time issues or fairness issues that they think are not in their favor. And here's the question: what are you modeling when you talk about the coach at home?
Yeah. Great question.
Tough question.
Great perspective getter.
Yeah. Do we have some questions for the parents to ask their teens?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know. Sometimes the best thing you can do as a parent, if your teen is complaining about the coach, is be the receptacle for what they're saying, but don't feed it back to them. And sometimes when if you try to coach them through it, it's back to what we talked about in the last episode. Sometimes we're too emotionally involved in the situation. And this is a great chance to have that question with yourself of, do I just want to be the home base right now and just create safety? Or do I need to try to coach mindset? So I would say before you ask any of these questions to your kid, do that, because the best thing you could probably do is just allow your kid to vent and then ask them a simple question of, what's the next right step for you? And I think
Absolutely.
that's a good way to go with that. And the other questions that we're going to share here is it's a good opportunity for you if you feel like going more of that route, or if you feel like you can do it unemotionally, these other questions that help.
Yeah, one of my favorites is, and you could phrase this different ways, but I like the way we have phrased this one, and that is, what can you control this week? So if you're thinking about the upcoming week of practice or games, what can you control this week as a player or a performer that the coach can't ignore?
Yeah.
And I think this is where going back to the favorite list, Nate, this is where what what does my coach really love? Well, my coach really loves diving on if I always revert to basketball. So my coach really loves defensive players that dive on the floor, that really they aren't faking hustle out there. They really are actually hustling. And that's something that I have 100% control over. Being on time, staying after a little extra. There's lots of things that players and performers can do that the coaches can't ignore.
Okay. I think those are good. Just two simple questions, but I think those are good ones. And honestly, I'm super anxious to get to this whole idea of this prosecutor tease thing that you had. I'm really excited here because I don't know where you're going with this, and I want to.
Well, okay, I'm the son of a former prosecuting attorney.
Yes, sir.
So, and I learned early that that was not going to be my career choice. So, I think history has shown I selected a better career path. But here's the blind spot that parents, as they think things are unfair about playing time, they turn into prosecutors.
Mhm.
And I don't want to paint prosecutors as bad people. In fact, my dad was always telling me, I'm putting bad people I'm putting bad people in jail. I'm if they've
And
committed
that's a
a
good
crime,
thing.
yeah, and that's a good thing. But parents should coach more like a manager and make decisions more like a manager than a prosecutor. Because when you're a prosecutor, what do? You're collecting evidence
Yeah.
to prove guilt, to prove a point. Whereas a manager is trying to minimize risk, reduce risk, and you're trying to protect. So if you want a simpler read of what's happening, or I can't remember if it was this episode or the previous episode, we were talking about
This episode.
it was this episode?
Yeah, where we're talking
Yeah,
about being clean and simple.
yeah, so being clean and simple. If you want a cleaner read of what's really happening in this playing time situation, ask this question. What risk is the coach trying to avoid by choosing someone else to play in this situation?
Yeah.
Ooh, and that can be really hard to ask. And then you can ask your team, going back to what they can control, is what's something that you can control this week that that lowers the coach's risk. And it might be, I know one reason why some kids don't play on the basketball court is and this will sound a little smart alecky, and it is, but they will throw the ball to the other team. So one thing that you can control is passing the ball to your team. That's something that lowers the coach's risk for sure. Because in the end, Nate, if you're just going to argue unfairness, if you're going to be complainer, blamer, explainer, you are eventually going to lose influence even with your own team, because they will get tired of hearing it. Nobody likes to hear it. It's a broken record with a terrible song that's playing. And quite frankly, I don't know that people in the stands like to hear about it. Like other parents, they may politely nod their head. Of course, if it's a pity party, if you're both griping about it, then
Both of your kids are on the bench.
then maybe it's a real enjoyable thing, but I don't think people like hearing it. So be a manager, instead of a prosecutor.
Yeah.
In case you are a prosecutor, then do that in your professional life. But as a parent, be more of a coach, be more of a manager.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very strategic approach. And it takes some emotional discipline to do that, because it is hard to see your kids sitting, and it is hard when it feels unfair. And that's a tough spot to be in. And we understand that many of you are in that spot. So we would just encourage you to keep using it as an opportunity to model for your kids that strategic approach, living with emotional discipline, even when it's really hard. And you'll add way more value to their life by modeling that than anything I can think of.
Love it. Thanks, Nate. It's good to see you as always. And congratulations to the parents for continuing to operate in the most difficult job in the world, and that is parenting. We'll see you in the next episode, 134, where we are going to continue this whole playing time thing. There's more to talk about.
Oh,
for
boy.
Sure. And we will be as fair as we possibly can.
We'll try.
Nate Crandall and Steve Galley would like to thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you love what you're experiencing and learning from the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, please like, comment, and or leave a glowing review of this episode and the show. And to further help Nate and Steve expand their reach and impact thousands of parents, athletes, and performers, please share the show and subscribe to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast channel on YouTube. And if you want to explore further to see what Nate and Steve are creating to help parents of athletes and performers everywhere, please visit their website at createtransformbecome.com. That's createtransformbecome, all one word, .com. There you will find a growing number of tools and resources to help you elevate your parenting. Thanks again for tuning in. Now go create a magical relationship with your athlete or performer.